Hey, Grace.
Hey, Jeremiah.
What is a Jawa's favorite type of pasta noodle?
I don't know.
Rotini!
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, that's a good one. That's great. Ha ha ha.
Everyone, welcome back to another Comics with Grace-tastic episode of Empire Radio. I'm Jeremiah.
And I'm Grace.
And we are back with a new series of comics, the Bounty Hunter comics, Volume 1, The Galaxy's Deadliest, and Volume 2, Target Valence. And this is when Drew would push his bum bum bum. But he is a jet setter, and him and his wife and kid are stranded in Florida. Or I think they're just getting back now, but they couldn't get a flight back to Minnesota in time to be here tonight. So he's like, sorry, you guys can do it yourself. And that's what we're going to do. So just Grace and I going over some Bounty Hunter comics. And so if you are familiar with the with the Comics with Grace series that we do, normally Grace does like a PowerPoint with like pictures and stuff. But because she's in charge of this segment, she's like, I want to change it a little bit. So Drew and I are actually reading the comics as well, and we're going to kind of do this kind of like a book review kind of, where we just, all three of us will talk. Well, Drew's not here, so the two of us will talk and kind of do things, but Grace will be leading the conversation, so we're excited for that. No pressure. No crashing and burning tonight, hopefully.
I don't feel pressure. No, I'm beyond pressure in life. Nothing could be stressful anymore.
Yeah, I know. You got some big bocce ball tournaments and everything coming up. You got a pretty simple life, right?
My life is just one big stress from now till the end, I guess. But no, we're going to have so much fun. This was actually like when Jeremiah proposed this, I was like, I don't know. Like I've read a lot of the comics, but I've always kind of purposefully not read the Bounty Hunter comics. So I was like, I don't care about bounty hunters, whatever. But these were great. Like, I don't know what your big picture reaction is, Jeremiah, but I really enjoyed this. I think they did a good job of mixing, fun Star Wars action with like pretty emotional, interesting character development.
Right. So we should say there's 7 volumes to this Bounty Hunters thing. So we're only doing a partial thing tonight. So have you read the whole series so far?
No, I haven't. I've only read issues 1 through 11.
Okay, cool. So, so this is my first time actually reading any comic ever in my life. So there was like a learning curve on like how to do it and like get used to like the format of how to do it, because my problem was I would only read the dialogue and not look at the pictures when I'm doing it, kind of. Well, it's just like I would just read things, and like if it's like 2 people, you'd see like who the bubble went to, but I wasn't like paying attention to like the scenery until like I read it, and then I had to like go back and look at it, kind of. So I had to like learn to like read one page and look at the pictures and then move to the next page, and like I was kind of like my flow was off trying to read these, so it was a learning curve. But it's definitely like the dialogue is very different than shows or books. It's very like simple, to the point. There's not like long monologues really per se, or there could be. Like we've seen them in previous like presentations you've done, like longer monologues and stuff. But so it's definitely a simpler read, which is kind of makes it easier to follow. My big problem was like, because I'm assuming these are all hand drawn things. I don't know how they do modern comics, but like because they're hand drawn, like faces weren't always like exactly the same from scene to scene, and so like I would get confused on who was kind of talking, who was who, and like there's one scene where like I thought it was one person that something was happening to, but it was actually I was wrong, and it's like I misinterpreted like a whole like issue or something like that until I went back and like, oh wait, I misunderstood this. So definitely a learning curve, but story
Yeah.
wise, it's interesting because this takes place between episodes 5 and 6
Yeah.
of movies, and so like you have like references to things like, oh, this is kind of cool references, um and also this overlaps with the Kira and
The
Dr. Afra
Kira
comic.
comics. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. Who knew?
And so, well, I did know, but like, I forgot about it. But it was cool seeing like the overlap, especially with one of the main kind of like characters that like we learn about in the
Yeah.
Kira comics. First, like I didn't recognize her, and then I said the name, and I'm
Yeah.
like, wait, I recognize
Yeah.
that name. And then I went back to your presentation
Yeah.
and looked at it. I'm like, oh dang, this is that girl, and it's like,
That
oh,
was
cool.
great. That was like a real shock. And like we were just talking before the podcast how I always spoil things for myself. But because I had been so disinterested in bounty hunters, I didn't realize that the like Caldelia character overlapped between the two series.
Yeah, and so. Um, Yeah, so it's just kind of cool because I knew that the Doctor Afra, Kira, and Bunny Hunter they have like crossover like
Sure.
issues and
Yeah.
stuff, but like I didn't know exactly what that entailed, and it's like, oh, this is how it works out. So it's kind of cool, and it's just interesting to see like you know we have 5 more volumes to go. Like I don't know what to expect. Like I have no theories really on how the story ends or what it's going to move towards, and so it's kind of interesting. So I'm excited for the next 2 volumes that we do.
Yeah. And to your point about the confusion, Jeremiah, I feel like I'm on the same page as you. I often find still reading comics kind of confusing. And I don't know if it's like what you were saying about the art, like maybe it's that. Maybe it's that I do think you have to like really closely like scour the words and look at the pictures. And then I think it's also sometimes that like with this one, like you were saying, because Bounty Hunters is connected to the larger like Kira, Dr. Afra, Vader comic story, like they'll pull in characters that are like explained in other parts of the series, and if you don't
Right.
realize that, it's just kind of confusing. Like this one was better at it. I found, especially in the Vader comics, they reference stuff and I'm just like, what? And then I have to like go online and realize it's in another comic. So yeah, if anyone is listening to this and is like reading along and felt kind of confused, like don't give up. I do think it's possible. You just have to like kind of take a breath and be like, okay, I don't fully understand, but like if I read enough, I'll start to get there, and it doesn't really matter all of these little details that seem unclear.
Because I wonder if, cause like they have these, like I bought the printed copies of these,
Mm.
and so these are like the collection, like the volumes, because there's like 40 some issues, but they're broken into 7 volumes to kind of like do little smaller collections. But like I wonder if there's any that are like the entire, like all the different story comic lines that are kind of like organized in a way to like read all the stories in like a chronological thing so like it all makes sense rather than trying to figure it out on your own. Like I don't know, you'd have to kind of probably just Google it and just see how to read it in chronological in a smart way to like do all the comics of Kira and Dr. Afra and all that stuff. But I
Yeah,
don't know.
that definitely, I think that exists. I feel like that's like if I've seen that at comic book stores before where they have like the big thick books, but there's a word for it and I don't know it, and maybe somebody listening in the chat knows or
'Cause I know
comments.
there used to be a full book collection of the Vader comics that's out of print
Mm-hmm.
now, but
Mm,
who knows?
yeah. Yeah. Anyway, you might be able to do that if anyone is reading them digitally on the Marvel Unlimited. They actually might have that feature where you can read it all in order. I can't
Oh,
remember now.
that might make sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
Anyway,
Well,
I feel like we're a little bit in the weeds already, so I just thought before we like go issue by issue, I would do like a quick overview of the comic series generally. Um, Plot wise, the comic is focused on bounty hunters, as we alluded to. And specifically, it's the part that we read in particular is centered around this like botched mission that happened on Corellia some years, in the past, where this bounty hunter leader named Nakono Lash and her crew were like there with a client who was named Camus. He was the heir of the Mourners Whale Syndicate, and they were there basically there to like assist him in murdering somebody. And they get to the like place where the murder is supposed to happen. They've gotten him all the way up to the finish line, and then the doors open, and you find out, like as we're going to talk about, that the person like to be murdered is this pregnant woman. And everything kind of falls apart from there. And the client is killed, and because he's the heir to a syndicate that has like big repercussions, and those repercussions are the like motivating incident for this whole storyline. So other things that I wanted to say about the comic, I wrote down some information about the writer. Yeah. So the writer of the series is Ethan Sachs. Apparently, according to the internet, he's also written some comics like Old Man Hawkeye, Old Man Quill, I guess Peter Quill, Galaxy's Edge. Not sure what that is. He apparently was a journalist in a past life. That's cool. And he, according to the internet as well, is really interested in comics that are more character driven. And I think that comes through in this series. And then the artist is Paolo Villanelli. Some previous Star Wars comics he's been involved with include Vader, Jedi Fallen Order Dark Temple. And apparently his style is more gritty, pretty detailed, underworld setting. All of that makes sense given that this is about bounty hunters. Like Jeremiah said, timeline is between episodes 5 and 6, published by Marvel Comics. So if anyone wants to read, like either you should do it through the Marvel Unlimited app. You can buy comics on Amazon and read them on Kindle, or you can do whatever Jeremiah did to get those physical copies. I'm not sure how one does that. I guess a store.
Well, I got these off Amazon.
Or Amazon.
And so, yep. And so there was, I think, like each like collection was like $10, $15 each or something like that. So I think it was like $100 for all 7 collections. So I don't know,
Okay.
kind of expensive, but also kind of cheap if you're kind of doing one at a time or something like that. But
yeah, and now you have them. That's cool. Yeah. Okay. Quick overview of characters, and then I think we should just go issue by issue because I don't want to. I've already said so much of the plot, and I want to give us time to really unpack it. So I feel like our main protagonist is this guy named Bylert Valence. He's definitely in some of, maybe in the Dr. Aphra or Vader comics. I've seen him before, but I never knew all of his backstory. He's this cyborg bounty hunter, more machine than man, which is like, all right, we've heard that one before. Apparently, his origin is in some 1970s Star Wars comics. So this is something that was a character that I guess was in the EU that they've now brought into the Disney Marvel comics. Yeah, that it. And his basic backstory is that he like joined the Imperial Army, suffered some serious injuries, was modified with these machine parts, and yeah, he's a very gray character, bordering on more evil, but has some good qualities.
So how did you pronounce his first name?
Bylert.
Bylert. I thought it was funny because like I pronounced it as B alert. And it's funny because like one of the like when he's like the flashback when like he leaves his girlfriend to join the Empire.
Yeah.
He's like, be safe, be alert. I don't know. I thought I was I knew I was pronouncing it wrong, but I didn't know how to pronounce it because like I just read it. But
I mean, you definitely could be pronouncing it right.
It would make sense because he's a bounty hunter and he's always getting stabbed in the back and chased, and so like, so be alert.
Yeah.
But
Yaritsi, what do you think? Please let us know your vote on how to pronounce the name. It's Beilert. I don't even know how to pronounce his last name. How did you pronounce it, Jeremiah?
Valence.
Yeah. Okay. Same. Valence. Some other characters of note, we have Nakono Lash, who I already mentioned. She is a nautilin, which is the same species as Kit Fisto, the guy who is green and smiles a lot.
And also gets killed by Palpatine in episode
Yeah.
3.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. is right. She is kind of like Valence's mentor. We learn that they have this kind of like cute backstory, and again, as we will talk about, she's at the center of all of the drama that's going on in this story. We have Boba Fett. I don't need to give people background about Boba Fett. We have
Boba Fett.
Bosk. Okay, Jeremiah, tell us all about Bosk, because I feel like Bosk is a character that like a lot of people know, but maybe
I
some
don't
people
know.
don't.
I we think we don't get enough of him because we get him in Clone Wars
Mm-hmm.
where he's like hunting down Ahsoka and those other Jedi, remember? Like
I remember.
yeah, so he's like that, and then like we get something similar to that like in the second volume of like
Mm-hmm.
some like weird Hunger Games like hunting down people thing. We don't really get a lot of information, but like he's pretty vicious. Like he seems like he's like some of the artwork he looks like Venom almost. Like it's the way he's like
Mm-hmm.
mouth is open, he's like being scary. Like he looks like a scary dinosaur kind of. He's a Trandoshan, so I don't know. Like he fails in the botched mission. Like he like screws something up. We don't really see what it is, but like he's pretty ruthless in these first 2 volumes of like when we see him fighting Valence and stuff. He's kind of pretty cool. It's like, all right, he's getting some name
Yeah.
credibility, I guess.
I think he's very bad. I'm anti Bosk. I think I know the High Republic gave us like a Trandoshan Jedi Master. Do you remember that? Do you remember what the
Yeah,
name was?
a Sikh. Is that what it was? A Sikh?
Oh, Nibasik.
That might be it. Nibasik, I think, and then she dies in the 3rd book or something.
I
Maybe.
believe you. That's definitely a character.
And we learned that like they can like they lose their hands and they can grow it
Yeah,
back or something like that.
yeah. But generally, Trandoshans seem bad.
They don't get a good rap. They're kind of like I don't know. Everyone hates Trandoshans, I guess, but
Yeah.
I don't know. But they're big and strong, so it's like I guess when you're big and strong, like you get recruited to do
Slavery.
brute force type things, and that's kind of
Crime.
like crime stuff. So
Yeah.
if you're small and timid, you're probably not going to join the crime syndicate or do bounty hunting.
I guess so. Yeah, I guess so. Anyway, we need to see more positive representations of Trandoshans, I think, in Star Wars. And then finally, the last main character I felt like who was of note was Caldelia, who we spoke a lot about in our Kira Comics episode. We'll get a little bit more into her backstory, but her important role in this story is that she is the heir to these 2 warring syndicates that are I don't know, crime syndicates like you might be familiar with from Solo or from the comics, the Unbroken Clan and the Mourner's Wail Syndicate. Okay, I think that's enough on the background, so perhaps we should just go issue by issue. How does that sound?
Sounds fine to me.
Okay, great. So, yeah, issue 1. This is like the first arc where we open with the flashback to the incident. What did you think about this opening, Jeremiah? I personally was incredibly confused. It took me like quite a while to figure out what was happening.
I was really confused,
Yeah.
and I misinterpreted what this like botched thing was, and I didn't really like how they presented. Like they show like 3 iterations of the story, like to like reveal more because you see it from one thing and like okay, this is what happened, and then they reveal the next few like moments, and then it's like okay, and then you get another one, but they're all like spread out, and so it was like I felt like it was unnecessarily confusing, but like they kind of had to do that because then you just immediately find out like they had to keep up the Nakano Lash stuff. Like what's the issue of her like coming back into like resurfacing after all these years, and like they had to like make that a mystery, and they couldn't do that if they just reveal what happened and then like oh okay, that makes sense what's happening, blah 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 blah. So like I get it, but I feel like they could have executed it a little bit better. but
Yeah.
I was still confused.
I really like reread the start at least 3 times because I was like, I don't understand. She messed up the mission. What did she do? And then I finally realized that like they're not showing us what she did on purpose. Like it's part of the story. But I was so held up on that, and I felt like it really got in the way of me appreciating the story, especially because as soon as I recognized that she had like got like they weren't revealing. I don't know if you were the same way, Jeremiah, but my mind immediately went to, oh, there must have been like a child or somebody that she was trying to save. Like it felt very obvious once I saw what they were doing.
I I didn't really catch on until it was told, but I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was just, once they did the one flashback, like or the second flashback I'd say, and like I'm like, okay, now they're gonna start explaining what actually happened, and then I was just
Mm,
like, I'll just keep reading, and then questions will be
yeah.
answered.
Yeah. I guess the first issue is good though because we get our flashback and then we get like we jump around to the different characters and the different bounty hunters that are going to be relevant. We have a fun Dr. Afra and Black Chrysanthemum cameo. That's nice. We get introduced to what's her name? Um, Tonga, whose brother was killed. Her brother is named Tongor, and he died as a result of the Lash incident on Corellia. And so she's out for revenge against Lash. We have Boba Fett out for revenge. We have Valence, and who else do we have that I'm missing?
From that first mission,
Yeah.
I think that was it, and just
Okay.
the client that they had that was killed, and then
Yeah.
Bosk was
We have
at this.
Bosk.
He
Yeah.
was at the start of the mission. He was kind of like screwed something up, and we didn't really see him after that. But it's just
Yeah.
interesting, like all these. What I thought was interesting was that the client hired all of these bounty hunters for this one mission, and I'm
Yeah.
like, we've never seen like a really like a big group of bounty hunters working together on one mission. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's kind of cool. We kind of see that in like Mando season one, like the
Yeah.
prison break one. We see it, but I don't know if they're all considered bounty hunters. I can't remember, but like this was just cool, like seeing like all these big names all getting hired by one person to do one job. I'm
Yeah.
like, I wish we could see something like that fleshed out more in Star Wars, but because
Yeah.
they're all like independent contractors. So
Well, it's a good point though because like maybe they're not right. We know this bounty hunters guild exists, so
right,
perhaps it's a window into the like administrative state of the bounty hunter
yeah,
bounty hunters of Star Wars. Like that this rich syndicate family had like needed their son to go on this mission, and so they just like went to the guild and hired a few bounty hunters to do it.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's a really good point. I hadn't thought about that. This first issue, by the way, is called Ghost of Corellia. I forgot to say that at the start. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, the first issue is really just laying the foundation for the rest of the story. So the second issue is called Sorrows of the Syndicate. We like start to get into the ongoing conflict between the Mourner's Wail and the Unbroken Clan, and we have more insight into how Lash's betrayal is like fueling this violence. All of that's a little confusing, and I don't feel like super relevant to the story in the end. Um, we also get more background in this issue into Valence's like personal stakes in the story, as in his connection with Lash. Um, so basically, I think that this isn't that this is the correct issue. where we see that Valence was like on his own, and there was this child that was being harassed by stormtroopers, and Lash and her crew were at, one table in a bar, and Valence was on his own, and he helps this kid. And then when the stormtroopers start attacking him, Lash saves his life and takes him into her crew and becomes kind of like a mentor to him within the world of bounty hunters. So that was some interesting dimension that we are provided into his character and into her character as well. And it starts to make you question, perhaps, number one, like why Valence is so set on hunting her down, given that she was his mentor, and number two, like, was she really the bad guy in this whole story?
Right.
Okay. This is also where we get more on Tonga, the human bounty hunter whose brother Tongor died during the Corellia incident. How did that side plot work for you, Jeremiah?
I was kind of confused by that thing because, like, I guess I didn't realize that the brother was killed at this
Me
point.
neither. I was so
and
confused.
and so, like, I thought, okay, he's alive, but the sister thought he was killed.
Yeah.
And so I was waiting for, because I think I got confused with the flashbacks and what was present and what was a flashback. And so I thought the brother was still alive, but it was actually a flashback before the botch mission. And so we learned eventually what happened. He did get killed, like, on that botch mission. But I was like, oh, okay, we're going to see the sister. She's going to find her brother alive, and it's going to be all a big happy family again and stuff. But like, it was cool that, like, she left her girlfriend / wife. I don't know. Are they married?
I think it was her wife. Yeah.
Wife, like, she's like, I gotta go after this Lash lady.
Yeah.
Like, I gotta find her. Like, my brother's dead because of her.
Yeah.
And I gotta leave you. And it's like that tension of, like, revenge. But like the wife is like, no, don't go. Like, we're happy here, type of thing. And it's like, okay, somehow this story is going to be played out further on in the story, but I don't know. Because they're twins, right? The brother and sister twins?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they seem to be perhaps from some sort of, like, they look human, but maybe it's just a cultural difference, or maybe there's something different with their species. Like, they seem to have different ways of connecting with people and with the world based on how, right? Like, there's that line about when they're talking about, it's a flashback, but when her and her brother are talking about the woman that Tonga ends up marrying, he's like, yeah, like, he says something weird, like, I don't know, she'll be a good mate for you, or like she smells right, or something that was just a little bit, like, different culturally from how we might as humans talk about marriage. So that's why I was wondering if maybe they weren't human.
Right. But yeah, we see in Star Wars, human cultures are all completely different. Like you can just see that in Andor. Like, Chandrila is really different than Ferrix. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
They're all humans basically, but very different.
Exactly. Okay. Do you have anything else to add about this issue?
Yes, something that I thought was very, very interesting was that the Nautolan language, like their own language, is based on smell.
Oh, yes.
And so, like, they can, like, create a smell, and Nautolans can smell a message in that fragrance. And, like, I guess, I don't know, the droids were able to, like, do it or whatever, but, like, decipher it. But, like, they found a map and coordinates in this smell at Lash's parents' grave.
Yeah.
I'm like, that is a really cool thing to learn about Nautolans, that their native language, or their native tongue, is actually a native nose, in a sense. Like, it's just like, it's true though. Like, it's through smell. And I'm like, I wonder if that was just made up for this, or if that's like an established, Wikipedia known fact for a while, but I don't know. But I thought that was cool. I don't know if we're ever going to get anything else from that ever again in Star Wars, but that's just a fun fact to have in the back of my head
Yeah.
now.
Well, it's a great little detail. I agree with you, and it's kind of I'm honestly surprised that we haven't gotten more creative linguistic stuff in Star Wars. Um, because it makes sense with so many different species. There'd be plenty of different ways of communicating.
Yeah, definitely. So,
Yeah. Hmm. Okay. Um, great. So that's shall we go to the next one?
yes.
Okay. Um, yeah, so the next issue is called Duel to the Death. We have a confrontation between Bosk and Valence. Valence beats Bosk, which is exciting. At this point, we're still a little bit confused why they're at odds, but we
Yeah.
understand that they're both trying to get her for the bounty. So
Right.
I bought into the fight. It was great, very well rendered. I feel like all of the action in this comic series is well done. I don't know if you agree.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of like different scenery and different fights, and it's the same people over and over again, just like rehashing it out, and then they have to like find them, track the person down again or whatever. But I don't know. I like some of the fights, and we see a lot of them with Bosk, and he's pretty cool. So like we said earlier, so yeah.
Hmm. And so this is where they end up on, as like Jeremiah was talking about, this graveyard planet called Galmera, which is another cool concept. Like I don't feel like we've ever come across a graveyard planet in Star Wars, but it makes sense if there are so many.
Or graveyards in general. Like, have we ever
Yeah.
seen like a
Mm.
graveyard or like a cemetery in?
No, we have like when Anakin like buries his mom in episode
Yeah,
2.
maybe like on Dathomir, maybe
Oh
like
yeah,
graves,
that's good. Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
like no like graveyard or cemetery.
Mm-mm.
Because
Yeah.
like the Jedi, they just like put Jedi down in that thing and like a light shines out of it, and I don't know, was that like
I think they do like cremation, right? Like that's what I
cremation? But
assumed was
I don't know.
happening.
We see Qui-Gon burning and Vader burning. That's that. But
I
like
assume the light is cremating them, right? And the ashes are just kind of like I don't
I
know.
don't know.
Yeah. Better not to think too much about it. Yeah, that's a good point. We've definitely not seen a proper
Oh
graveyard
well, we
before.
see the last scene in Clone Wars when Ahsoka buries all the clone troopers. We see that
Mm.
graveyard. We can call that a graveyard, mass burial site, I guess. But that's a very sad scene. We should move on.
It's a very sad scene. I don't know why you brought that up. Okay.
Well, because you're talking about graveyards and
Yeah,
stuff.
I guess we're talking about cremation. That's just okay. Yeah, Graveyard Planet, great name, Galmera. Love that. And yeah, basically the only thing that happens in this issue is the fight with Bosk, and then I thought this was the issue where they find the parents' grave, but was that the previous issue? And I
Previous one
just
I have it
got
in my notes, so
yeah.
it was,
Okay.
it was at the very end of the second issue
Mm,
that they show that.
okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have anything else to add about this one. I feel like it's more development on the Bosk character who we, have a little bit of in episode 5, and then we have a bit of in the Clone Wars, and that's basically it.
I could mention that I think it was in this one that we were introduced to this hooded figure,
Oh,
and
yeah.
and I was kind of that got me confused on who the hidden figure was. Like in I think the next issue, I was kind of confused by, but yeah, and there's introduced to this planet Rusan, which is kind of like a reoccurring planet that we keep going back to, and there's like this old guy on there that we keep going back to. So it's a relevant planet, Rusan, Ruusan. So
Yeah. Okay, I think I just maybe mislabeled my issues. Anyway, because issue 3 is also when we get introduced to Valence's love interest. We have like a flashback of him on the mission with Tongor and Bosk, and this is where Tongor is talking to Tonga, and she's like, I got branded, I'm getting married. And then Valence like hops on the call, and he like is trying to call his love interest, your Gala Vega, and then he gets scared and doesn't actually complete the call with her. What I like about this character is she has the little thing on her forehead like Avar Chris. As a side note.
Yeah, and
that's fun.
We when I went back to look up Cordelia stuff, like
we see her.
We see her.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, it's the same character. Oh, dang.
Yeah. I mean, I remember that because of the thing.
Yeah, and we talked about it looking like Avar back then too. So
yeah,
that was kind of funny. So it's so immersive. No. We're just like all these comics.
I totally agree. Okay. So yeah, then we got more flashback into like Bosk and Valence's troubled past, even when they were part of Lash's crew. And then we have more of the other bounty hunters like trying to find where Lash is, and then the episode or the issue ends on kind of a cliffhanger because we are on this planet. We see a hooded figure, like Jeremiah said, like coughing up a storm. They are like going into this, like it kind of looks like Dagobah. That's what I thought. Like they're in the woods living in a tree, but it's not. And yeah, we unfortunately like it's Lash, and she's with Caldelia, who it seems like she's taking care of, and Caldelia is being held hostage by this other bounty hunter, Oris Bainar, who is working for somebody who I forget, somebody that Valence didn't want to work for.
Yeah, this is where I was confused because I thought, because we see the hooded figure, you know, walking to go back to like their hideout or whatever, and then it goes straight to this Urus guy holding this girl.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, so this girl was the hooded figure.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. So he was just at the house, took the girl, and was waiting for Lash to arrive.
Yes. And I was confused too.
Yeah, and it should be noted that this Urus guy, he's that species that looks like a Wookiee on top, but has like a snake body tail.
Oh, I missed that.
If you're looking at it and like look at the artwork, that's the same species. We see that guy. He's on the Jedi Council and he's in the High Republic too, I think.
Yeah.
So it's that cool like Wookiee species with the body, like the top half of a Wookiee, but like the bottom half is like a snake tail, and he's a bounty hunter. And I'm like,
is it Oporensis or something?
Yeah, so I can never remember how to say his crazy name.
Wow.
But yeah, same species it looks like. So like, hey, this is cool because we've never seen that species like move around ever, like in like animated or live action. We just see like pictures and like I want to see how it like moves. Like does it move like a snake or what? But
yeah,
it's a crazy species.
So that it's starting. This is where I feel like it started to get pretty good. So we have this, and then the issue ends with Tonga and Valance forming an alliance, where he's basically like, let's work, or she, I forget, one of them is like, let's work together. We both want the same thing. We want to get Lash, and they decide to go ahead. So that's how we start with it. That's how we start issue 4, which is called Hunter's Mutiny. So we start off with Valance and Tonga. This was very interesting. At the very start, she has him put on a restraining bolt, which really played into the whole like more machine than man. I don't know how you felt about that.
I thought that was weird because like
me too.
You would think that would only work like on like a droid's brain, like it controls like it knows what the droid's thoughts are, and then therefore when it chooses to do something not in alignment with what the restraining bolt says that stops it.
Hmm.
But like, I don't think his brain was ever reconstructed or anything, so I don't know how it works. But it was very interesting, and it's very much kind of like, okay, have you watched like the original '90s like X-Men animated show at all? So like, it's really rough. Like it's kind of terrible. I've watched
Okay.
like the first like 3 seasons or whatever, and
Okay.
Valence is exactly like Wolverine in that show. Like those dialogue, his like one-liners, and kind of like his attitude, like super
Hmm.
tough, but he's also soft, and
Hmm.
like I don't know. I was like, this is basically Wolverine from the original X-Men's animated series. I don't know. It's kind of funny, but he
Yeah.
kind of looks like the Terminator, like in a sense, like from the Terminator movies, with like when he gets his skin ripped off his face and stuff. So like this
Yeah.
whole thing is like half this thing, like he gets his skin ripped off his face, and you see like his two faces basically. But
Yeah. Yeah, which
I don't know.
is definitely a look. At
A
some point
look.
later, he's like trying to buy synthetic skin, and I was like, yeah, it's a good call.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, we have Tonga and him working together, and then we flash to Rusan where Lash and Caldelia and Urus are engaged in a little skirmish. And Urus thinks that he's won, and then Lash is like, Caldelia, like, remember what I taught you? And she like fights back, and Lash is like, you shouldn't have like threatened the child, and she ultimately kills Urus, and it's pretty epic. And meanwhile, Valence and Tonga like arrive on the planet. They go to look in the village for more information. Somebody else comes and finds Bosk. I'm not really sure who went and found him on Galmera.
Who found who?
Who found Bosk?
Um,
It doesn't really
because
matter.
Valence beat him in that
Yeah.
fight.
Oh, it's Boba Fett. It's Boba Fett. Yeah. We don't see the character, but that's the only person I think it could be.
Right. I vaguely remember that now. It was like a
Yeah.
1-page
A
thing
one
or
page
something
thing,
like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um yeah, and then basically like Tonga and Valence fight some people, and then they end up figuring out how to trace Lash into space, and they break onto her ship, and they have this confrontation, and it's very emotional. And Lash is like, "No, like just give me a chance." First of all, Valence like reveals to Tonga that he's kind of betrayed her because he received a transmission from Lash and was like out to help her all along. And Lash is like, just give me a second to explain myself to Tonga, and tell you the full story about what happened. And this is when we get our like extensive flashback that tells us more about what happened on Corellia, and we find out that like the reason Lash betrayed their client and killed him was that he had gone to murder in cold blood this woman he was having a child with that I guess would not have been supported by his family because of I don't because
No,
she
because
was from a rival syndicate,
no,
right?
she was the heir to
Yeah,
the other syndicate. Because
yeah,
was it Kamas or whatever?
yeah. Kamas, yeah, Kamas,
Uh, he was Mourner's whale, right? And then
yeah, and she was the other one.
she was the broken. What is it? Broken
I don't know.
clan, it's unbroken clan or something like
Yeah,
that.
Unbroken Clan.
So he was having a girlfriend of there was an enemy, got her pregnant, and now this child is an heir to both syndicates.
Yes,
And he's
exactly.
like, "This is not good for my PR, so I got to kill her." And then
Yeah, which is a
Lash,
little bit weird, like that. Yeah, Romeo and Juliet gone wrong. That's
yeah,
exactly what I was thinking.
which
Yeah.
which was just Romeo and Juliet because that went wrong too in the end.
It's like Romeo and Juliet, except that the love is not there. Like, for some reason, they've
Oh,
had this affair. She's gotten incredibly pregnant, and then at the last second, he's decided the only way forward is to kill her instead of like running off together.
right. And so the reason, so then we see, so Lash then kills Kamas to stop the mission. And so everyone feels betrayed by Lash because they're all hired to do this thing. And that's why everyone is after Lash. They seek kind of
Yes.
revenge for this botched
Yes.
mission. But at this point, we're still like, why? And then we get we get more backstory about Lash later, and it explains why. But I was like, okay, well now I'm intrigued. I'm like, okay, why did Lash save this pregnant chick? And then I don't know if it was here or in the next one, but how then she, I guess, escaped with the pregnant woman. But this is also where the sniper takes out Tongor, the brother.
Yes, exactly. So we realize, like, we learn that Lash didn't kill the brother, and yeah, we just start to see her in a much more sympathetic light. If for some reason we weren't already feeling that way based on her earlier actions,
Right. And then, but from Tonga's perspective, she blames Lash for the botched mission, and as a result, the death of her brother. So
yes,
that's why she's after
yes.
to seek revenge.
But at the end of the story, Tonga is like, okay, like, I understand. I just want to go back to my wife and live on our peaceful farm. And just as she's saying that, she's shot. And on the next page, we see that Boba Fett has arrived on the scene.
Yeah.
So that brings us to issue number 5, The High Cost of Revenge. Sorry, do you have any closing thoughts on the last issue?
No.
Okay.
That's it.
Great. Yeah, we begin on Glee and Slim. Is that the like planet of Nautiloans?
I don't know, because I feel like this group of Nautilans was on vacation. It seems like.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was like the other alien species was there, but I couldn't tell if that was they were on the Nautilus planet and being a nuisance, or if this vacation spot had like these bad guys that were just harassing people and stuff. I didn't really know for sure. I didn't even look up Glee. I can look it up now, I guess. I don't know. Yaretsi, you're in the chat. Glee Anslim, what planet is that? Is that who's native to that planet? Oh, it is the Nautilus home planet.
Yeah. Because there's that one line where when they find the little baby after, like, the parents have been killed by these raiders, and they're like, oh, they were like good people, you know, they went to temple or something. So anyway, so we get this tragic backstory for Lash, and we find out like later that after she was orphaned, she was like sold to a bounty hunter guild. So she's just had to grow up hardened. And like that's part of the reason that she's decided to take on Caldelia. She wants to give the girl like a better, happier childhood.
But also, I think because the story is that the girl in this flashback is Lash as a girl.
Yeah.
And her mother was pregnant and got killed by these other group of people. And so when she sees a pregnant woman, she's like, I've seen this before and it's terrible. I'm going to save this pregnant woman from being killed. And that's why she stops it.
I didn't even make that connection. That's a really good point. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why she, you know, if she didn't have this experience as a child, then the mission would have gone as normal and everyone would have been happy in quotation marks. But because she had that tragic experience of seeing her mother killed who was pregnant, she intervened.
Huh. I feel like I read it a bit more generally than that, but I think that I think she saves the pregnant woman because like who wants to let a pregnant woman get killed? But yes, sure. Definitely influenced by her tragic backstory.
But you don't think that was intentional by the writers?
No, it was definitely intentional. Okay. Like your point stands. I refuse to believe that was the only reason that she saved the woman.
I feel like it is though. Like if that's an intentional part of her backstory,
Yeah.
then I
Okay.
think that should be what the writers are implying, that this is why she acted, because she's still a bounty hunter. She's still killing people left and right. Like she's
Yeah.
not above killing like innocent people, like to get the job done. It seems like, I don't know. Some bounty
Yeah.
hunters are
No, I
more
know
have a
what you
more ethical
mean.
code than others, but like Din Djarin, like he has an ethical code because he's a Mandalorian, but he's also a bounty hunter. But you see Bosk and all these other, and Boba Fett, they got a job to get done, and they kill whoever's in their way to get the job done, so they have a good reputation. So everyone's different, I guess.
That's true. Okay, so then Boba Fett and Valance fight. Like, it's whatever. I don't really care about Boba Fett, so I wasn't
Oh,
invested.
good thing Drew's not here. He'd be offended by that comment.
And we get this like emotional scene where Caldelia's like, or Lash is like, okay, Caldelia, like you have to like get out, save yourself. Like my time is over, but like you need to live on. And then um, we get more flashback to the night on Corellia, and we basically find out that it was Valance like tackling Boba Fett as he shot his gun that killed Tongor. So Boba Fett comes out looking very bad throughout all of these episodes or issues. Lash comes out looking very good. We see her saving the pregnant woman, but in the process of saving her, she Lash abandons Valance, who gets captured. I'm not really sure how he ever gets out of that situation, but apparently he eventually does.
Right. And we should note that the reason Boba Fett is after Lash is because that ruined his reputation via on a failed mission. So
Yeah.
that's why he wants revenge.
Yeah.
And so, but like I'm also I was trying to think of like how this timeline works, because how old is Caldelia in these comics?
Yeah, I
Is
know.
she like
I
10?
agree. The
Is she
timeline doesn't really match, right? Like,
10 or 12 years? Maybe.
oh, yeah.
So like this, this takes place probably, a few years before like season 1 of Andor / Rebel season 1. So we're probably like 6 or 7 BBY or something.
Mm-hmm.
And when the mission failed and whatever. And so this is, 12 years later or something. But Boba Fett would have been 30-ish or something.
Mm-hmm.
But so he's at this point, he's like still has a big reputation that was ruining, like at the beginning of the mission. He's still known as this big thing that he has a reputation that could be ruined. Like obviously, if you're some low level bounty hunter and a mission is botched, yeah, it's a bad thing, but it could be easily recovered. But because Boba Fett was negatively affected by it, it goes to show that he was already a well-established bounty hunter.
Yeah, it's a good point. Well, but also maybe like he wasn't like the most established, because at the very beginning, I forgot about this, but when they're talking about the mission, I think Bosk is like, I know this guy Boba Fett, like we should recruit him, right?
Maybe it was the first issue was a little confusing, so I didn't really know what was
Yeah.
going on. I'll have to go
But
back
like
and read it, but
to your point about him being young, like it seems, yeah, he was at a point in his career where this damage to the reputation was, I guess, impactful.
yeah, because in that original mission, like Boba Fett was like waiting to enter in, like he was kind of like, "We'll call you in when we need you," and then he just like showed up, like I'm taking care of business.
Yeah.
But
So let's see what else. Yeah. More fighting on the ship. A lot of like, don't leave me. I'm not gonna leave you. More fighting, and then basically, we get to the pivotal scene, which is Valance and Lash are like sitting there talking, and Lash is like, I'm not going to make it. The ship's falling apart. I need you to promise to take Caldelia and keep her safe. And it's pretty emotional. It seems like, Lash was a mentor, mother figure to Valance. And like, after he'd had his injury and received these augmentations, felt like no one would ever love him again or whatever, very soppy. And so the two of them say goodbye, and then he goes and finds Caldelia, and the two of them like fly off
Right.
into the sunset.
Because I don't know if you mentioned it, but Lash is sick and is dying from a sickness.
Yes.
And that's why she's like, I'm going to die soon anyway. So, because like these like torturers or whatever, like, so I think the person is called a torturer is tracking Valance, and they're attacking the ship that they're on.
Yeah.
And Lash is like, I'm going to die soon anyway. So I'm not going to like be a dead weight. And so you leave, I'll stay back. And so that's why this is the last we see Lash. We assume that she dies soon after.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe she'll show up later on. It's Star Wars. You never know. If someone
I was going to
you
say,
think
you
is
just
dead.
never know.
But yeah, so that's the first 5 issues or the first collection.
Yeah.
Galaxy's Deadliest.
Galaxy's Deadliest. So the next collection, disconnect, no, is called Target Valance, Zuckuss
Yes.
for Lamb.
But before we get into the next collection, if you are tracking down a bounty and you're trying to get a good gig and make some money, and you're tracking and you're kind of like confused on what you do, maybe you just need a little more energy, a little bit more pep in your step, and you could just use a hot beverage such as coffee or tea. And coincidentally, we have a sponsor every episode from Wesley Andrews, Coffee and Tea, Minneapolis, Minnesota. So if you need some help tracking down a bounty, check out this commercial.
Hey everyone, Andrew here. I'm pleased to tell you that the sponsor of today's episode is Wesley Andrews Coffee and Tea. If you don't know anything about Wesley Andrews, you definitely should. They're an award-winning coffee roaster and shop in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and they make fantastic coffee. The awesome thing is that whether you live in the Twin Cities or not, you can get their coffee beans delivered straight to your door by ordering them online. They even have a subscription service that ensures you never run out of amazing coffee. If you've been looking for some new coffee to try or a way to elevate your normal coffee routine, now's your chance. Head over to wesleyandrews.cc, use the code Empire Radio, that's with a capital E and a capital R with no space at checkout, to get 15% off your first purchase of any bags of coffee or a coffee subscription. I can't think of a better deal. Get 15% off some great coffee, support a small business, and support your favorite Star Wars podcast. In the words of Emperor Palpatine, do it.
Do it.
Do it.
All right, we're back.
Okay, we're back. Okay, so we're diving right in. We start with more backstory on Valance and I've already forgot her name, Yura. They are on this mining planet called how would you pronounce Chorin?
Chorin.
Chorin, yeah.
Chorin, who knows?
Yeah. I want to say it with like a guttural, like Chorin, but I feel like that's probably not right.
No, not for people reading a name like that. That's never going to have an audio to it. But.
So Chorin is maybe what we'll go with as Americans. I don't know why. That's just what came to me. Yeah. So long story short, it's kind of, it's a story we've heard before is they live on this mining planet. They're young, they're in love. And he wants to go join the Empire to like do more in life. And she doesn't want him to go, but then he goes, and like before he goes, she gives him this valuable ruby that's been in her family for generations, and it's very romantic and cute. Okay. We then flash forward to the present. Valance and Caldelia are. Oh, no. I'll stop there, Jeremiah. What were your reactions on the whole backstory stuff? Since I feel like that's the best part of this issue, anyway.
Just classic Imperial era story of, because he said that the Empire saved their planet, so they see the Empire as a good political entity, and he's like, I need to provide for us, and I want to serve the power that saved us, and like we wouldn't be here without the Empire, and I'm going to provide for you and our family, community or whatever, by joining the Empire. So it was classic, and then classic. She gives the ruby, be like, you gotta bring it back to me. You got, like, this is my ruby, it's not actually yours, so you gotta bring it back. You're just borrowing it, so like to be the promise of like this will see each other again. So it was fine.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. I also liked that we get another example of people interacting with the Empire as like a not this like huge evil like genocide committing force, but just as a like this is the government, and like I'm not gonna think too deeply about it. I'm just gonna to be a part of it because it's my ticket to a better life.
Right.
It's very realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we have a little lone wolf and cub, Caldelia and Valance on the run. They're getting attacked by all these other bounty hunters. I'm just gonna skip through it. You should read it if you're interested. And basically what happens is that Valance gets very seriously injured in the fighting, and the two of them are able to escape, but he's has a huge hole in his chest, and so they make it to this place called Loic, a secret rebel outpost, and we're like, "What? Oh, rebel! This is exciting!" And he opens the door, and who do we find? But we find Yura, and Caldelia is basically like, oh my gosh, like you need to save him. And that's how the issue ends. So we find out Yura is now working for the rebels. He's reunited with his love. It's a big cliffhanger. Obviously, we know he's not going to die, but it seems like he might. Very exciting stuff.
Right. You said you skipped over a bunch of stuff that I thought was relevant.
Okay.
Sorry. So we find out how Valance, or why Valance is like a cyborg, because he was on Mimban and was extremely hurt in battle.
Yeah.
As an Imperial soldier or whatever. But we're also introduced to two other bounty hunters, Zuckuss and Forlom, which are like in these coming issues like the main
antagonists
kind of. And I think Forlom is an EU a character.
Oh,
I've heard him before.
Interesting.
But I'm not sure about Zuckuss, so I don't know if like these two were like in the EU, like a duo or whatever. But Forlom is a droid. Zuckuss is, I forget the species name, but he has precog abilities. And I was kind of confused because it seemed that it was implying that species has precognitive abilities, but I don't, or if this is like supposed to be like a force sensitive person, or that species tends to be force sensitive. I don't know, but like he can like predict things to happen in the future, and that's why he's such a successful bounty hunter, because he can predict events before they happen. So that is very relevant, I feel like, moving forward, because those are the two main things. But I don't know. They're at Slade's repairs. They go try and fix up Valance, but yeah. But yeah, it was kind of crazy.
They eat this like soup thing. He like orders Caldelia some soup, and she's I don't want to eat it. It's like green, and she's like, green is healthy. It was very like parenty.
Yeah, I feel like soup is like a big thing in Star Wars, because you can just put a bunch of stuff in some water, and there you go.
The
Goes a
food
long way.
situation in Star Wars seems quite dire. I've very rarely seen anything I'd want to eat in the Star Wars universe.
Well, it's usually the rich people have the nice looking food, but if you're not rich, it's slop or like a lizard on a stick or something.
Even Padme, it's like she was in her Naboo estate and all they had was a single pear.
Oh, that was like later on in the meal, I feel like.
Okay.
But pears are good though, right? You like a good pear?
I like a good pear, yeah. I like it complemented with like some cereal or something.
Okay. But pears are a lot better when you're being force fed, pun intended.
That's
a pear,
funny.
but yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Julie
true.
pushes button. Anyway, moving
Very
on.
romantic. I love it when a man gives me half a pear with the force.
What? Is that how your boyfriend won your heart?
No.
No?
Anyway, let's see. Okay. The next issue is called Collateral Damage. We get more of Zuckuss and Forlom. That's exciting. I think the reason I didn't connect with these guys, and Zuckuss maybe is in something else. Like, is he in The Mandalorian or is he in other comics? Like, I'm familiar with Zuckuss.
I don't remember.
Okay.
Your Etsy, has Zuckuss been in anything else? You're our fact checker tonight.
Yeah,
We'll
thank you. Anyway, they just look really ugly, so my brain just skips over them.
Yeah, he looks like a fly, kind of, like his face.
Yeah.
Big eyes, but like he has like an apparatus on his face.
Uh-huh.
Kind of. I don't know if they're like breathing apparatus or whatever, but he's like wearing like this weird cloak thing.
Yeah. He's not cute.
No.
No. But anyway, these two guys show up on Lowick, which is the rebel planet. And meanwhile, nearby, we're told, Valance is being treated by Yura. And the big reveal we find out is that Yura has a husband, which is like a bit awkward. Caldelia is making jokes the whole time, like, wow, this is so romantic, like your big like love story. And I'm like, oh my gosh, is he gonna die? Like, I actually thought he was dying because like he's crashing, and I was like, maybe it's fine. Like, he's handed off Caldelia. And we go to another flashback, and this is a little bit confusing, but I guess he has reunited with Yura since his incident, and he's been like maybe playing both sides, like helping the rebels, and keeping them safe from Vader. Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, was he in that? He must have been in that lineup. With
Yeah,
like
he
Bosk
was.
and. So is Forlom with Zuckuss in that scene? Probably. Oh dang, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Now I gotta go watch that scene.
Anyway, we get a flashback where Yura and Valance are fighting, and she's like, why don't you just come back to me? And we see him being kind of like, I'm a cyborg now, like I'll never be good enough for you. And it's sad. It's melodramatic but sad.
Yeah, because there was, I can't remember, but it was like a line like, what did she say? Like, I would have loved you anyway, or something like about. She had a line.
Yeah, I let me find it.
Because it was like she was like upset that he didn't believe or trust in the love that she had for him.
Yeah, here it is. I waited for you all this time to come back like you promised, and that gem was my promise to you that I would love you whether you were a minor or an imperial officer like you always dreamed. Well, you should have been dreaming of us all along.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pretty sad.
Very sad. So we go back to the present, and basically like the rebel base is being attacked by the bounty hunters, and Yura takes Caldelia. They're trying to run away. The Zuckuss and Valance are fighting, and it seems like Caldelia and Yura are going to get away, but then they come across Forlom, and she shoots him, and it's all very exciting, but then she gets shot as well. And Caldelia starts running away, but like Yura goes down in this river, and Valance finds her. He's very sad. And then the husband comes. I forget what the husband is named. And
K with a K, Chandra?
yeah.
Is that what it is?
And he's like, okay, Valance, like I got her. You got to go. You got to help Caldelia. And because Forlom has taken her, and Valance gets to Forlom and Zuckuss, and he's like, okay, let's make a deal. I'll give you this ruby, which is like, wow, okay, that's the end of your romance, buddy. Don't give away the ruby. And I will give you like information about a rebel base location if you give me back the girl and then give me like a head start getting away from you. And they take that deal, and he gets back Caldelia, and you know, Yura is okay. And he's like, Caldelia, I'm going to leave you with these people. They're good people. The life of bounty hunter is like not a life I want for you. Like you'll have a more stable life, which I'm like, really? Like, will she? Like, we know that within a couple years or like within the same year, Kira is going to come and kidnap her. So it's not actually a more stable life.
Right.
And then like, you know, Valance and Yura say their goodbyes, and it's sad, I guess.
Yeah. So it's like in the Kira comics, when Kira kidnaps or takes Cordelia, she's with Yura and Chandra.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know if we're going to get more of that at all in this series or not, but or if that's explored anywhere else of like getting from this point to the Kira point. But it was like, okay, full circle. Like we see how Cordelia ended up with these two random people when Kira shows up. So
yeah,
that was cool.
And like we find out that those people were associated with the rebels too, which is, I don't remember if we do that in the Kira comics or not.
I don't remember. I don't really think we got much information on Yura and Chandra, but
no. But now we have it. So, and I really liked the backstory for Valance. This is a character that I think they've like included in a lot of the comics. Like he's definitely in the Dr. Aphra comics or the Vader comics, and it's just nice to give him a more like humanizing backstory.
Because there was mention of like he did a mission for Vader or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of mentioned in one of these issues that we've read. So yeah, if Vader's willing to hire you, you're probably pretty good at your job. So
yeah, I mean it's a cool character design, I guess. More machine than man. It's like, why didn't Vader get this get up if he could have been looking this good all along?
Well, he was burned, like pretty much his whole body was burned.
So was he. Valance was also burned.
Was he?
Yeah.
Well, I guess he does have fake skin, so
yeah.
I don't know. Vader needed the helmet to breathe, so I guess getting a skincare routine wouldn't have really mattered.
Okay. So now we are on the next issue, Moving Target. Valance has this bargain with Zuckuss and Forlom. But also now we have these two additional antagonistic figures that come into the mix. Syphac and then wait. Okay, yeah, Syphac and Chandra, right? Like the other guy.
So Syphac is like a guy I got contacted to get bounty hunter gigs or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's like, I need some money because I'm broke.
Yeah.
So give me a job, and then he has like this other bounty hunter that like or something.
Oh
with
yeah, it's Tasu Leech.
Yeah, and then it's like, sorry, Valance, there's a bounty on you too. So or we're gonna get you, type of thing.
Exactly. So that's how the issue starts. And then basically he calls Kanja and he's like, "How are Yura and Cordelia?" And Kandra's like, "I need you to do me a favor, like, you know how you owe me one." And he basically is like, one of the transports that was like evacuating this rebel base had something wrong with its hyperdrive. It's a ship called the Spirit of Jeddah. We need you to go find it. It's like it's drifting somewhere. Specifically, it's in the intersection of the Corellian trade spine and the Hydean Way, which felt like, a lot of Easter eggs rolled into one.
Right.
But basically, the issue is that's a corridor infested with pirates. And so we need to get them out.
Yep, and it's Weequay pirates show up, and it's Hondo's old gang. So Hondo Onaka is no longer leading, but it's the same group that he once led.
Exactly, which was exciting. The guy at the very end of this issue, the pirate is like, "I'm not soft like Hondo was. Like, we do things differently in this new Onaka gang. Like, watch out."
But it's funny that they keep the name, the Onaka gang or whatever like that, but they don't like them. But
yeah, it's funny. It doesn't really make sense, but that's okay.
All right. But the one thing from this issue that you didn't go over was the flashback that Valent and Han Solo were cadets together in the Imperial Navy.
Wait, I think that's the next. I have that in the next one.
Well, it's in multiple ones, but like we see, like they're on a training mission or on a mission, and Valent's ship gets messed up and crashes, and his whole team.
That's on the next issue.
No, I have it.
Issue Squadron of 1.
Number 8 is when I got it as number 8.
Okay, sorry, I have it as number 9. It doesn't matter.
Because 9 starts off because he crashes in issue 8, and he gets surrounded by the bad guys, and then at the beginning of the 9, it's him.
Oh, okay. Yes.
So I was like, did they really need to bring Han Solo into the story just to like have as a lame Easter egg? Like,
wait, I actually didn't mind it though, because Valent and Han have such a similar backstory, right? They both like join the Imperials to like get a better life, and to me it makes a lot of sense that they're overlapping.
Right, but it's just like, of the hundreds of thousands of people that join, or even millions of people that join the Imperial Navy, our main character happens to be friends with Han Solo. I don't know. It seems a little. It makes the universe really small. Like, they could have just created a new cool character, but
that's true. I see. I take your point. That's very true.
Right. So, because when we see that he was hurt on Mimban, I believe that's the. Yoshi says it's as the Force wills it. That is true.
Yeah, it's funny.
But like the Mimban, I think is that mud planet that Han Solo was on in the Solo movie. So it's that battle that Valent gets hurt at. So, and then Han Solo, he escapes with Chewbacca. So it would have been cool if like the story was that Valent was fighting Chewbacca, and Chewbacca hurt him, and that's how he got hurt, and then Chewbacca gets captured. Like, and that'd be kind of cool if that was the story.
Yeah.
But maybe it is how it happened. I don't know. I don't remember exactly. Did he get exactly the battle that he was in when he got hurt? But who knows? Anyway, moving on.
Yeah. Basically, like Jeremiah alluded to, we find out that Han like came back and rescued Valence in this battle while they were both in the. What were they in? The Navy or the Army?
The Imperial Navy. They're training. So this was still probably a few years before the fight. But I think didn't it mention that Solo and the other pilots came back on their own?
Yes, exactly.
But not as like a directed command by the Empire. So the Empire abandoned Valence, basically.
Yeah.
But Han Solo did not, which
Classic.
Yeah, it's like the Han Solo. He's like, he thinks he's doesn't need anybody, and he's cool by himself, and he doesn't care. But like, he always goes back and helps. So
Exactly. Han Solo has always been kind of a hero. Valence is like one step removed from Han Solo heroics. He's like a
right,
little bit less heroic, a little bit more anti-hero. Mm, okay, so we flash to the present, and he's like at the ship that's, I don't know, the Jeddah ship. I forget what the name is
yeah,
already.
the rebel ship. Yep.
The rebel ship, and he gets on board, and they're like, "Whoa, what are you doing here? We don't trust you." And then, we are on the pirate ship, and we're introduced to this like prisoner they have that we saw at the end of the last issue. I don't really have more to say yet. Basically, he's just there to like he's giving the pirates information, seemingly to try to bargain for his own life.
But it's Dengar, who's also one of those bounty hunters from Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, okay. I forgot about Dengar completely.
He's the guy that looks like a mummy. He's wrapped up in like white cloth.
Oh.
So that's Dengar. Like, he's always like, we don't ever get anything about Dengar other than it's like little bits and pieces here. So I was like, this is cool. We get a little Dengar action.
That is cool. I totally missed that.
Yeah, because it implies that he has a debt to the Hondo gang.
Exactly.
And he's like, I got this information that's on this rebel ship.
Yeah.
This will be enough to pay my debt if you do what I say, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So.
And he also says, oh, that's Valence's ship. We got a problem.
Yeah,
like, he recognizes the ship. So.
He's telling them how dangerous Valence is.
Yep.
And meanwhile, the rebels have locked up Valence, which is like classic incompetence. Though I guess he did break on to their ship and seems kind of scary. So relatively understandable. And they're like, we're just going to surrender to the pirates. And Valence is like, they're pirates. They will kill you. Hello.
Classic pirates.
Yeah. And meanwhile, we like go back to Rusan, and we find out that Tonga is still alive. Her wife has come to look for her, so that's cute. And then we go back to the ship, and Valence is talking to this lady, who's a mechanic, and he's like, "Hey, like, you know that this is a bad plan. Like, let me out, and I can help you." And she finally agrees, and he gets into a fighter with the droid, which is an astromech, and the two of them like go and start attacking the pirate ship. And we find out that he's like a pretty good flyer, though at one point he's like, I haven't done this since I was in the academy. And I was like, whoa. You look like you were in the academy like 30 years ago, so that's concerning.
Well, I think it was like, because he was flying an old X-Wing that was like not supposed to be out there really.
Yeah,
and he's like,
exactly.
I think he was saying this is the first time I've flown an X-Wing. This is not like, he's like, oh, it's probably going to be similar to a TIE fighter. But it wasn't. So he was like, not ready, but he did well, I guess.
Yeah, he did incredibly well. So then I was a little bit confused about this, but I think he like goes and like he's gonna sneak onto the pirate ship, right?
So even though he's fighting off the pirates, a pirate ship does board the rebel ship.
Yeah.
And then he gets back to the rebel ship.
Oh, he just goes back to the rebel ship? Okay.
Yeah, because in the next, like, the pirates are interrogating and captured the rebels.
Yeah.
So they're on the rebel ship.
Yeah.
But like Valence, like, I would have to go back, but he
like climbs on the outside and he goes back in.
Yeah. Because he can like survive in space for like 10 minutes or something like that because of how machine he is.
Okay.
So that's how he later gets in, is he just spacewalks into the ship.
Yeah. I I was a little confused because it's like unclear whose ship is who, but that actually makes sense.
Right.
Okay, cool. And I think all the while he's like, you're right. Now that I'm thinking back on it, Jeremiah, they do kind of like they're very heavy-handed about the Han Solo connection. They're like, oh, he's like, oh, Solo, like you're making me such a hero. Like, why am I doing this? Which is, yeah, it's a little bit too much. Anyway, so next issue, we're basically like wrapping the storyline up. It's called A Desperate Gambit. We get our like last Han and Valence flashback. And basically we see how like he lost his leg and he was just like very mistreated by the Empire. And they're kind of like, you're done. We don't have any more use for you, and you're not going to be able to like get a good cybernetic yourself anyway. And Han comes and visits him, and he's basically like, why would you like? Why Han is like, why would you ever want to stay in the Navy? It's terrible. And Valance is talking to him about how like I wanted to be a part of something that meant something, like you don't understand that, and then
Right, and it should be noted this is not the Mimban like thing. So this is pre-Mimban, so he lost a leg in this thing where he got, thought he was abandoned by his co-pilots flying around, but like so he loses a leg, he's expelled, and but then like the officer there was like, well, maybe you can join the infantry or something, which Han Solo, he also gets kicked out of the Navy and has to do infantry stuff, and so that's I guess how they both get to Mimban. So they're both kicked out of the Imperial Navy, and they also get sent to the same battle. I don't know, it's kind of all coincidental that they stay together no matter where they're at. But
yeah, that's you're making me like much more cynical about the whole Han Solo storyline. Interesting.
Well, that's why I'm here, to make people cynical.
Yeah. Okay. Meanwhile, like in the present, Valence is breaking into the pirate ship on Rusan. Tonga and her wife are like making their escape, or trying, like the wife is like, let's go back to our farm, let's settle down, and Tonga's like, no, there's one more thing I have to do. It's not revenge, but I need to go after like Lash's killers.
Yeah, I was confused by that.
Me too. I don't really understand
why she cares. Like, she learned the truth about what happened, so I guess it's, Lash is no longer the enemy. She's a hero, and so I have to avenge the death of a hero.
Yeah, so I have to go after Boba Fett. Like, I don't even really understand who the killers are, right?
The killers of Lash would have been the torturers that.
Oh, the guys with the mask.
That weird mask thing, that Zorro mask or whatever. But we never got any more information about who that guy was. Like, so I don't know. It was kind of weird. But which is kind of cool though is that guy on Rusan. Do we ever get his name? The old guy?
I don't remember if we do.
But like he's there and he has a pet Nexu. Like a tamed Nexu, which I didn't know was possible. Like it's his pet cat. And he's like, oh, you're gonna need help from my Nexu to like be. So we're gonna see like a Nexu fighting for the good guys in quotes. Like, I don't know. I think it's kind of cool. An attack Nexu that you can have as an ally. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's cute. I'm into them. I would take one.
I don't think you would.
I would. No, not fight it. Like I'd have it as a pet.
I know, but train it, so I don't think you could handle training a Nexu.
Oh my god, I wouldn't train it. Like somebody else could train it, and then I would just have it. It would be cute.
Okay.
Thank you, Jeremiah.
I'll let you win this battle.
It's not a battle. We're just we're on the same page.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Basically, yeah, like Jeremiah said a while ago, the rebels are captured by the pirates. Who's surprised? And then Valance shows up and he's like, "Hey, I'm here to save you." Like, what are the pirates after? And they're like, "We don't have anything on the ship. I don't know what they're after." And then they're like, "We need to come up with a plan." And I'm trying to remember what the plan is. It's like
Valence, they say, oh, the pirates, the hyperdrive
yeah.
was sabotaged. And he's like, oh, sabotage? That's a good idea. Implying we're going to sabotage the ship further to, like, take out the pirates. And so, like, he says this, and we go to, like, the Commander Hill, which is the leader of the rebel cell. He's there with the pirates, and Commander Hill is like, sorry guys, I'm actually betraying the rebels right now. We're going to lose anyway, so I'm going to try and make some money. And so he like helped facilitate the sabotage of the hyperdrive so that it would go out of commission and stop this place so that the pirates could come. And so it's kind of part of Dengar's plan or whatever. And so he has transponder codes for the rebels, which I don't know exactly what that means. Maybe just, I don't know, trackable codes or something that the Empire could use. So it's like to sell these codes to the Empire, which is enough money to pay off the debt that Dengar has to the pirates. And then the lights go out, and that's Valance sabotaging the ship.
Yeah, okay. So we find basically that the rebel captain has sold out to the pirates because he doesn't like believe in he like doesn't get buy into the whole like message of hope of the rebellion. And then we have like a final confrontation between Valance and, oh my gosh, what's the guy's name that looks like a mummy? I'm also forgetting.
Dengar.
Dengar, yes. And basically, this must be where I saw Dengar before. We find out that, yeah, Dengar like sold out Valance to Vader when they were working together. And he takes Dengar and the two of them like fly off into the sunset. Unclear what they're going to do. We'll see in the next issue, perhaps. And then we have this transmission from Private Blanche Sproul, the mechanic woman, to Tonga, or no, gosh, the husband. I'm too tired.
Oh, Chandra.
Chandra. And she's like, yeah, Valance left. The captain was doing some bad things, but I'm here to give you the report about what happened. And that's how the issue ends.
Yeah, and he, because something like the reason the rebels couldn't, go rescue these people was because they would have to communicate with them, and it would be trackable from the Empire or something like that. And so he says that Valance used Bounty Hunter Guild codes to like send information to the rebels so they could know where to come. So Valance is like a good guy, soft heart, but whatever.
Yeah. So the last issue that we're going to talk about tonight is called The Great Hunt of Malastare. And basically the setup is that like when Valance takes Dengar prisoner, Dengar like lets slip that Han Solo has been captured, and because Valance and Dengar have this history, my understanding is that Valance is like out to go and rescue Han Solo. looking, and in order to do that, he needs to find Boba Fett. So,
well, I think it has to do with because like a lot of people like throughout these first two things, like people are like referencing the Han Solo job, like
exactly.
and so I think it's Valence and Dengar believe that Boba is delivering the Han Solo and Carbonite at the moment, so they want to like intercept and make the delivery themselves to get the payout.
Oh, but I think Valence wants to save his friend, right? Like maybe he says he's in it for the money, but
I don't know. It's kind of unclear. But like everyone's like mad that they didn't get the job. Everyone's mad at Boba, and no one can find Boba. And like because they get intel, and it's a Slave One ship.
Yeah.
Like now we know where Boba could probably be, so we can intercept. So because like we know that like in the comics, I think it's in the comics that Kira gets Han Solo. So like before it's delivered to Jabba the Hutt. So like I don't know. Is that story played out in these bounty hunter comics and we don't even realize it yet?
Yeah, probably, right? Like I assume that's when they all cross over.
That'd be cool. So this whole Han Solo thing is like a big deal. It's like the bounty hunter goes like the biggest job in the galaxy apparently. And so
yeah, interesting.
But they
I don't really have anything else to say about this issue. Like we get to see Sebulba. That was fun.
Oh, his species, yeah. The Dugs.
Doug, yeah.
But it's like two brothers that are like bounty hunt like they're I don't know, this whole like ending is weird because it's like
really weird.
It's like this Hunger Games like hunt thing where like people are hunting other people, but like it has to like the kill has to be like impressive in order to score points because if it's just like an easy kill, you don't get any points. And like Bosk is on here and he's like leading everyone trying to be a team, but he ends up using them as bait.
Yeah.
And like Bib Fortuna is trying to like recruit this guy to like work for us instead, and then like he shows up and like Bosk is like the last one standing or whatever, and he goes to work for Bib Fortuna / the Hutts. And I'm like, what does this have to do with anything right now?
Thank you, Jeremiah. That's like I was just like, what? I'm so confused. I don't get it.
I'm guessing it's going to play out in the coming issues because we got 5 more collections to go through. So if you want to know why there's this crazy Hunger Games thing going on in Star Wars, come back in like 2 months or something when we come back to these comics with Grace.
Can somebody find out what the Doug brothers are named if they're not Sebulba? Who they are? I'm curious.
The name should have been in there, right?
I don't remember.
I don't know. Let me see if I can.
I don't think there was a name.
This big brother and little brother is what they say. I see. But that is a weird species because they have like 4 arms and no legs, and they just like run on their whatever. But yes, Sebulba's species, the Dun. Or
Doug. You got it.
Doug, yes. And it says, translated from Doug in the.
Yeah. I love how they do that in comics, by the way, as an aside, like how they did the foreign languages in little like triangle parens.
Right. At first I was confused on like why they're doing that. Like they have the little bracket things, like and then it says translated. So
yeah, but okay. Like final thoughts. My takeaway is that these are great. I'd like to go back and like read all of the connecting comics now with like a greater understanding of some of these bounty hunter characters. But generally, I was pleasantly surprised by the experience.
Yeah, it's interesting to see now that we were like predicted that maybe this is where we get the Han Solo stuff. I'm actually more excited than I was actually before we had this conversation. So I don't know, it'll be cool. And we don't see Valence anywhere else, so I'm assuming he's gonna die somehow. I don't know, but like I don't know what the like end goal is now. Like what is the actual plot of this thing? Like,
Yeah.
because it was started out as, oh, Lash has resurfaced. We got to find Lash. And I thought, okay, this is going to be the whole series, is this hunting down of Lash. Well, Lash is taken out in like the first few things, like the first collection. And so Valence is this on his own but working with Dengar to find Boba. And that's all we really got. And then we got Tunga. She's trying to find the
Boba.
torturers.
Or the torturers, sorry, the torturers, yeah.
And so it's just like, I don't know what the plot is yet.
Me neither. I mean, I think that's the plot. Like, they're trying to find Boba, but yeah, I agree with you.
But it's cool either way. Like, this was as I said, it's the first time reading comics, and so now that I understand the process, I think it'll be more enjoyable as I go. Now that I know how to like properly read and look at the pictures the way they're supposed to be, but.
And have the mentality of like, yeah, it's okay if it doesn't all make sense. Like, some of it will just be confusing.
Yeah, and like one thing that was confusing was like they would make a scenery change. Like we go to a different planet and like label it like we're on this planet, on this city or whatever, and like okay, cool, I got to know where we are. But then it would change scenes again to somewhere else, but it wouldn't make that same label to a different label. So like I was confused, like why sometimes they labeled a scene change or a planet change, but in others they didn't.
Yeah.
I found it confusing, but I was like, all right, it's not going to make sense, so I just got to deal with it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. And then you get, I don't know if on the electronic version, if like you get the alternate like covers and stuff of issues.
No, you don't get the alternate covers.
So there are like between like chapters, like sometimes you get like alternate covers to like some of the artwork that they had. Like it was kind of cool. So.
Do you have a favorite? Like show those who are watching this podcast in visual
No, you got
form.
me. Call me on the spot. I don't know. I gotta find. I don't know. I can't. Sorry.
Okay, that's fine. It happens to the best of us.
Yep.
All right. I'd like to request that we go to our favorite time of the episode. Is that possible?
It is. Let's transition over.
It's voicemail time.
Well, Grace, last week we had 14 voicemails. But tonight But tonight we only have 4. So so lucky you. Because like the last like 3 weeks we've had like 10 or more. And I was like, oh, Grace is gonna hate it if we have more than.
Don't give me this bad reputation. I have no problem with voicemails.
I know
I love when you guys have voicemails.
I know, but I know you're trying to get to bed, so because you're not at home right now. So 12 of them last week were from Shadrick, and he has sent in 2 tonight.
Okay.
And he's apologizing for sending in so many last week. So let's take a listen.
Dang. Again, I want to apologize for the voicemails. To be fair, I didn't think you play them all at once. I was kind of shocked by that. You played all 12 of my voicemails, and wow. I feel special. But I won't blow you guys up with voicemails anymore. It's okay. After Skeleton Crew, I'm probably going MIA again. But yeah. Sorry for blowing you guys up there for a second. Talk about feeling like Jar Jar in the 2000s. No, I'm just kidding. But I do love you guys. I think you guys are definitely one of the best podcasts. And just the fact you guys listen to fan voicemails, and I think more podcasts need to do this. Especially how easy you guys have it. Like, it's just pretty much a push of a button and another push of a button and you're done. But again, shout out to you guys playing on my voicemails. I might, I know you won't believe me, but I'm going to send in one more because I did watch 2 episodes of Skeleton Crew, and I'll send my final thoughts when I finish the rest of Skeleton Crew. And yeah, and it won't be 20 million voicemails.
All right, thank you, Shadrick. No hard feelings about all those voicemails. We got them done. So, but we knew because he was watching Andor season 1 and 2 for the first time. He was binging it,
Wow.
and so he was sending in voicemails as he was like watching episodes and all that stuff. So he was on the hype train, and he was sending in voicemails. So that's why he sent in so many.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. That's great.
All right, but let's take a listen to his second voicemail, which is kind of like his review of the first 2 episodes of Skeleton Crew. So let's take a listen.
Hey guys, I just want to say sorry for the crappy audio I sent. I was at my job, Kroger. They play that freaking Kroger music in the background, and doesn't help that I had crappy Bluetooth earbuds. But yeah, I do grocery night stock, 9:30 p.m. to 5:30 a.m. I had fun. Anyways, 2 episodes in Skeleton Crew. First episode had me skip. Second episode, I'm way more hooked because of the world building alone. I love the alien designs, creature designs, the droid designs. It's all great. It gives me original trilogy vibes. Without using too much CG. I also love the little monkey alien guy that like transported them to their first planet. That cracks me up. I hate freaking Wim. I can't stand him. He's like your typical 80s main character kid. I don't know, like Goonie. I get to Goonie Starback, but he's too much for me. The rest of the kids, they're not too bad. They're starting to grow on me, but Elephant Kid, my freaking favorite. I gotta go back and remember his name. I gotta learn his name, but I love his little elephant friend, and he might carry the show for me. And I can't wait to watch the rest. So, yeah, I'll leave you guys some more thoughts in the future. See you.
All right, thank you. Yes, Neil has won everybody's heart. The
Yeah.
elephant guy. Everyone loves Neil. He's the heart
So
of
cute.
the show. So he's everyone's favorite. But the show, it's a good show. It's just a fun, lighthearted show. It gets kind of intense at points, but we look forward to hearing your full review of the series when you finish it. All right, next up, we have 2 voicemails from Yaretsi, who's been in the chat and our fact checker all night. So let's take a listen.
what a hero.
Last week, she told a story about like someone talking about their favorite Star Wars character, and Drew and I guessed on what we thought hers was, what her favorite character was, and she's returning with a response on who her favorite character is. So let's take a listen.
Hey, Empire Radio, it's Yaretsi. And last week I sent in the voicemail about y'all guessing my favorite character for Star Wars. You had some pretty good guesses. Jeremiah guessed Omega at first, which was a very good guess. I love the Bad Batch in general, and Omega is one of my favorite clones. Plo Koon, which Drew guessed, one of my favorite Jedi. Not favorite character all around, but Jedi, amazing. Hondo Ohnaka is just a great character, really funny, so that was a good guess as well. But my all-time favorite character, and this is why the girl thought it was interesting, is Darth Maul. I've read his comics introduced me to the literature world of Star Wars, and I've read Maul Lockdown and Darth Plagueis and a lot of books and comics just about him, and it's just like every time I read more, every time content is added, I'm just like, this character is so cool. So like, he's my favorite. Anyway, bye.
All right, thank you, Yaretsi. Maul, I would have never guessed that, but Maul is a wonderful character, and he is in my top 5 characters of all time. So
Wow.
I get it. So he has a wonderful story, and I think he should be on everyone's top 5, top 10 characters because he has a good character arc. But
agree.
moving on, Yaretsi has her second voicemail, and that's the last one of the night. So let's take a listen.
Hey, Empire Radio, it's Yadetsi, and I've been on a Star Wars book marathon reading,
Ooh.
so I thought I'd tell you guys which ones I've read. If you've been keeping up with the Discord, I sent a picture of my collection, and I've read all those books there, which are Master and Apprentice by Claudia Gray, Darth Plagueis, Maul Lockdown, Death Troopers, A New Dawn, Tarkin, Lost Stars, the Thrawn Ascendancy trilogy, and I also read the Imperial Thrawn trilogy from the library. I read Dark Disciple. But I think my all-time favorite one that I've read I gotta stick with my favorite character. It has to be Maul Lockdown. I just thought it was a really cool book, and Joe Schreiber is the author, and he also wrote Death Troopers and Red Harvest. And I haven't read Red Harvest yet, but I think Maul Lockdown is more gory than Death Troopers. And Drew, I totally understand why Lost Stars is your favorite book. Not my favorite, but it's still a really good book, and I probably would read it again. Anyway, bye.
All right, thank you, Retzi. And it's interesting because she's reading a mix of EU and canon books, and so that's gutsy because one of the reasons why I don't want to read the EU is I don't want to get confused with like canon and non-canon stuff. But that's cool if you can.
It's so cool that you're reading so many. It's inspiring me to get back on my Star Wars book reading kick. I haven't read that Maul book that you really like, so maybe I should do that this summer.
Yeah, but speaking of books,
yes,
today the final High Republic adult novel was released. So that is currently in delivery to me, and we will be actually doing the book review like end of July, I think it is. We have that scheduled in with Grace to join us.
That's true.
It's going to be a Yaretsi in the chat says, I only started reading all of those books since January. That is a lot of books in a short amount of time.
Warms my heart. We love to see it.
Yep. But so we are excited for this final High Republic book. It's the 6th book of this like story arc, but it's the 8th book High Republic book that we have read for the podcast. So I'm excited for this conclusion. I guess apparently this isn't going to be the end of stories. They're still going to continue doing some more stories, I guess. I don't know exactly what that looks like. But the High Republic is a lot of fun. And next month, we'll be doing a book review of Trials of the Jedi.
Nice. Okay. Well, I'm excited. I told Jeremiah before that I've been desperately waiting all day to Google spoilers. So maybe I'll do that after we finish this podcast.
We love Grace so much here at Empire Radio, but learning tonight that she spoils books for herself. I don't know how I feel. I feel like betrayed almost. But
yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I'm at a loss for words. I think that's the indication that it's time to say goodnight. And I will just not tell you how much I spoil in advance of reading it. It will be too painful for us all.
Yep. So we will go over some social media and we will get out of here. So if you are new or old fan of Empire Radio and you want to get connected with us more, go in the description below. There is a links.co/Empire Radio, link spelled with 2 I's. Click that link, landing page for everything Empire Radio. So follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. Normally, if Drew is with us, we're doing a live stream on Twitch. So go check out Twitch for live streams. We do that for every episode that he's here. Join a Discord. Yaretsi mentioned the Discord where she posted a picture of her bookshelf with all of her Star Wars books and stuff. So go join a Discord and send us a picture of your Star Wars toys or collections or bookshelves or something like that. We'd love to see it and talk about it. There's tons of stuff to talk about in a Discord. We also have a fan email if you want to send us an email about anything. But that's everything. I'm excited for more comics in the future and more books and more Star Wars content. Anything else,
I'm
Grace?
excited to finish these bounty hunter comics. I think we're going to have another good podcast episode. So people should be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, and hopefully Drew isn't, stranded in another state because he's a jet setter and all that stuff, and he'll actually be able to join us because he loves bounty hunters, and we didn't get his thoughts. So we'll see him next time, hopefully.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you've been listening to a bounty hunter-tastic episode of Empire Radio. I'm Jeremiah.
And I'm Grace.
And may the Force be with you.
Always.